aren't you aware that leadership requires decisive actions, not neutrality dressed as a principle?
Dear delegate, the sarcasm is well noted, but the hypocrisy still remains. Our policy of not taking sides has been there since the day of our independence. We have always been neutral, but neutral does not mean quiet. Let the forum be reminded of our role in the liberation of Bangladesh in 1971. When the world needed us most, we stepped in. Together with our African allies, we call for unity. I would like to quote from the Upanishads. Ayam nija paroveti gadana lagu chetsam udar charita nam tu vasudhaiva kutumbakam, which means this is mine, that is yours. This is narrow-mindedness. For the true open-hearted people know that the entire universe is but one family. Thank you.
Representative of Minority Rights Group International, you may have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. April 1992, Bosnia, 200,000 minorities. September 2004, genocide in Darfur, 400,000 minorities. To sum up, esteemed delegates, we have lost over 1.4 million people. Oh, I stand corrected. 1.4 million minorities. This is not about Republicans, delegates. It's not about Democrats, and of course, it's never, believe me, never about the rights of indigenous people. Genocide Convention, 1948. Treaty of Lausanne, 1923. We make promises, and then we break them. I asked the head of state, seated over here, where is the commitment we promised for? Esteemed delegates, let's pledge that every single day we renew a commitment to never forget, never forgive, and say united in one strong global voice, never again.
Delegate of France would like to propose the draft resolution. Due to paucity of time, I would request you to present 3 main points to the Assembly.
Thank you, Chair. France not only supports India and its African allies' claims for fair representation in the Council, but we also take a step forward for a better tomorrow by ensuring climate action, digital equity, and strengthening international organizations. And thus, we propose a draft resolution highlighting 3 key points. Recalling Article 1 of the United Nations Charter that outlines the purpose of United Nations to promote peace. Acknowledging the existential threat posed by climate change and suppression of youth. And lastly, emphasizing the calls for reforms in the UNSC as outlined in Chapter 5. Thank you.
Delegates, we will now vote on the draft resolution proposed by the Delegate of France. Delegates for this draft resolution? Delegates against this draft resolution? With 28 yeses and 6 noes, this draft resolution passes. Distinguished delegates, the world needs change makers, and you are that hope. Don't let this just be an exercise. Let this be a commitment. We stand together for the implementation of this draft resolution. With the powers vested in me as the Secretary General of this model United Nations, I, Anuna Narayan Trivedi, declare this conference closed.
Let's put our hands together for this wonderful message that has been put forward.
by the students of City Montessori School, Rajajipuram Campus 1. Thank you so much. May I now invite our respected manager and conference convener this year, Professor Geeta Gandhi, to introduce us to the Honorable Chief Guest for the day, Honorable Shri Yogi Adityanath.
Namaskar and a very good morning to all guests. It is my great honor and pleasure this morning to very warmly welcome Yogi Adityanath ji, the Honorable Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, which is India's largest state. Yogi Adityanath ji, thank you so much. I think Honorable Sir deserves a very, very good round of applause. All the students of CMS. Thank you so much. Yogi Adityanath's political journey started at university, where he did a MSc in mathematics, where he also started working as an active member of the National Students Organization, the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad. Yogi Adityanath embraced renunciation or sannyas in his early 20s, relinquishing worldly attachments to lead the life of a monk. Based on his services to the people of Gorakhpur district of Uttar Pradesh, he was elected as Member of Parliament at the early age of 28 and was re-elected from that constituency for 5 consecutive terms. In 2017, he assumed the position of Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh and has become its longest-serving Chief Minister. As an ascetic politician who believes in corruption-free, efficient and accountable government, Yogi Adityanath forges a deep connection with the people. He is ambitious about and deeply committed to the rapid progress of the state of Uttar Pradesh. The period of his chief ministership has been linked with greater ease of doing business, higher public commitments to health, education and infrastructure, and greatly enhanced inward investment. It is a great honor for this conference to welcome a visionary leader like Yogi Adityanath as the chief guest at this 25th International Conference of Chief Justices of the World. With your permission, sir, I would like to introduce the objectives of the conference. Friends, humanity is at a crossroads. It faces grievous problems: existential climate change, insecurity and conflict, the specter of global pandemics, and powerful technological breakthroughs and developments that are happening at breakneck speed, but which are largely not governed yet by proper law or adequate ethical frameworks. International institutions struggle to contain these problems. While the United Nations has done much in the field of humanitarian assistance and social development, it has been unable to maintain peace and security, as seen by the illegal major wars that are ongoing. In the field of climate change, personages no less than the former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and former President of Ireland, Mary Robinson, have last week written a letter to the United Nations saying that the slow-moving COP process cannot deliver change at the speed and scale that is essential, that is needed in order to ensure a habitable global environment. Our existing global governance architecture is far short of what is needed to address the current problems and for building a bright future for humanity. Even the United Nations' own Pact for the Future recognizes that, and I quote, "Today, our multilateral system, constructed in the aftermath of the Second World War 80 years ago, is under unprecedented strain," unquote. But we have to have hope for our children. Children are the common present concern and the future hope of all peoples and nations. It is our intergenerational responsibility to bequeath to them a brighter and a safer future. Where does India come in? What does India have to offer, and why is an institution in India hosting this conference. The father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, had said, quote, and this is something that the Chancellor of the Judiciary of Guyana, Honorable Mr. Justice Karl Ashok Singh, mentioned 2 days ago in Delhi in his address. Mahatma Gandhi said, quote, a day will come when the world will approach India in its quest for peace, and India will become the light of the world, unquote. As my father said in his talk at this conference in November 2022, India has 2 important things to give the world when it comes to talking about governance. First, the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam from the ancient Indian holy scriptures. This means that the whole earth is one family, meaning thereby that all who dwell on earth are our brothers and sisters. When India chaired the G20 meetings, the motto chosen was one earth, one family, one future. This motto is drawn straight from the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam precept. If the world could draw inspiration from this rather spiritual approach to relations of nations with one another, it would be likely to lead to a more multilateralism and more collaboration. The second thing that India has to offer the world is the very unique provision in its constitution about how the Indian state shall conduct its international relations with other nations. It doesn't say that the state may or the state might. It says the state shall. It's a promise in our constitution that the state shall conduct its international relations in the following way. Article 51 promises that, quote, the state shall endeavor to promote international peace and security, maintain just and honorable relations between nations, foster respect for international law, and encouragement the settlement of international disputes through arbitration. Such endeavors are indeed the guiding lights for the conduct of nations, if only they would subscribe to these values. Peoples and nations long for peace, and there is a growing awareness that in order to reach peace, we need effective global governance. For building an effective global governance architecture that has relevance, legitimacy, and the trust of nations, it is essential to review the United Nations Charter, its constitution, which was made 80 years ago and which has not changed despite the fact that the world has changed unrecognizably in 80 years. There is a momentum building up for a review of the United Nations Charter, despite the reluctance of some historically privileged nations who may want to preserve the status quo. The Pact for the Future agreed that the UN Week last September, 2 months ago, at the United Nations in New York, in its section 5 on governance, it says that, quote, we must renew trust in global institutions by making them more representative and more responsive to today's world, unquote. This conference will hear about some proposals, some very specific proposals for the review of the UN Charter, which include suggestions about the representation of the different nations, something that our students here alluded to as well. Participating judges may want to study these proposals further and may consider discussing and disseminating some of the ideas about the UN Charter review back in your respective countries. The annual Conference of Chief Justices was conceived 25 years ago by my revered father, the founder convener of this conference, late Dr. Jagdish Gandhi. My father noted the severe problems of wars and insecurity that exist in our world. He was 11 years old, he was 5 years old when the World War II started, and he was 11 years old when it finished. He also witnessed the India-China War of 1962 and the subsequent war between, East and West Pakistan in 1971, and of course so many global conflicts subsequently. He felt a world government could effectively solve such problems of war and insecurity. He appealed to the then United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Kofi Annan, to work towards the establishment of a world order. And Mr. Kofi Annan replied that we at the UN can do nothing alone. Our strength is the strength of our member nations when they agree to act together. So, it is up to the people of the United Nations to convince your leaders to come to the Millennium Summit thoroughly resolved to work together to create a better world for the children. So, my father wrote to the political leaders of the world, asking them to unite and to work towards the formation of a world government. When they did not reply either, all the governments, about 200 heads of states and political leaders my father wrote to, only 3 countries replied. He then turned to the judiciary, feeling that the judiciary was the last hope for humanity's survival. Effectively, friends, in this conference, he created a forum for dialogue among the senior judiciary of the world about topics such as the rule of law in international relations, the strengthening of the United Nations Organization for a stronger global governance, and the empowerment of the International Court of Justice. And I'm very happy to say that as soon as I mentioned the International Court of Justice, the Honorable Judge from the International Court of Justice, Justice Dalveer Bhandari, has happened to just walk in as I was mentioning. So I think that his arrival here deserves a round of applause. Thank you so much, sir. It's a great honor to have you here. CMS, as the world's largest school, has become, if you like, a self-appointed representative of the world's 2.5 billion children and seeks to represent their interests. Children should not be passive recipients of what adults are giving them alone. They should not be passive bystanders, but rather be proactively engaged in discussing the affairs of the age. Indeed, youth are central to problem solving. After all, they have the longest to live, and the decisions taken by today's leaders will affect them the most. I would like to end by again expressing profound gratitude for the presence here of Honorable Yogi Adityanath Ji, our popular Chief Minister of the great state of Uttar Pradesh, and I would like to welcome all eminent guests to Lucknow as part to the Lucknow part of the 25th International Conference of Chief Justices of the World. In particular, I would like to welcome Ms. Catalina Novak, former President, Her Excellency, the former President of Hungary. She stepped down from being the President of Hungary in February this year. His Excellency Lawrence Rodney Williams, the Governor General of Antigua and Barbuda. He is a serving head of state, and it's the greatest honor to have him here. I'd also like to welcome His Excellency Mr. Pakalitha V. Moselitsili, currently MP, but previously twice the Prime Minister of his country, the Kingdom of Lesotho. I'd like to welcome His Excellency Mr. Jean-Henri Sion, former Prime Minister of Haiti. And the many other eminent Chief Justices from 16 countries, Deputy Chief Justices from 5 countries, and many of the Supreme Court judges, High Court judges that have come from 56 countries. It is our greatest honor of our students, our staff, and myself to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And no program, no organization, no creation of a thought is incomplete where we do not remember that great visionary leader who began this movement 25 years ago and who was at the helm of creating such a school that looked out for the whole world. So presenting before you a heartfelt tribute to our visionary leader, Dr. Jagdish Gandhi. We really miss you, sir. This tribute is being presented by the students of City Montessori School, Rajajipuram campus, students and teachers.
Mustafa emerged as a dynamic and inspirational youth leader.
Gandhi's teachings resonated deeply with him, emphasizing the intertwining of spiritual liberation with all human activities. Lucknow became his serendipitous destination with just a flip of a coin. Stepping into the city of Nawabs, our beloved founder ventured closer to his dream. The University of Lucknow. This place heralded the commencement of an epic saga, where our revered leader forged a path that continues to inspire each one. Our most revered Jagdish Gandhi sir discovered his kindred spirit in the most respected Bharti Gandhi man, embodying the sentiment echoed by the late President V.B. The world marries India. if you would accompany sir to the stage. Dear audience, if this touched your heart, of the phones hold and sway with it. We request you to switch off your backlights of the mobile phone and flash them. Audience, we request you to flash the backlights of your mobile.